So, welcome to the WaterMarks Neighborhood Project Team Information Session. In this presentation, we're kind of going to talk about an introduction to like what WaterMarks does, and then also specifically the Neighborhood Project Team and how you as residents of Sherman Park can be a part of that. All right, so we're going to start with an overview of WaterMarks, and we have a really great video that we just received as kind of a trailer to the WaterMarks project. So we're going to play that first. All right. Cool.
Great video,
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
great.
thank you.
Wow. That's cool.
Yeah, it's very moving. Yeah, we really like that video because it definitely culminates all of the parts of WaterMarks in a very aesthetically pleasing way. Kind of just like starts you thinking about what we're going to talk about. So I didn't introduce myself. My name is Haley Rohr. I am the outreach specialist for WaterMarks, and I'm going to turn it over to Ryan Hallfield.
Hello. So thank you, Haley. And I'll just go with, I'm just going to put a little bit of this in context. I mean, this gives you just some images of this very young project. I mean, it's been in the making for a while, but this is a sort of pivotal couple of years for us because it is finally coming to life now. Thanks to a grant from the National Science Foundation, and specifically a program called Advancing Informal STEM Learning. So this grant, so this program normally supports institutions like museums and zoos and aquariums, all those places that where we go to learn informally about scientific topics rather than, in school, things like that. But of course, what makes this vision really unique is that the idea here is that it's not just about learning about science, it's about learning from each other. It's about what can we learn when we put in conversation artists, scientists, community members, community leaders, and visitors all together, engaging in walks, engaging in various kinds of activities. So that's the real vision here. So I'm going to let Haley Nellie tell you more about some of the details of how this works, but just wanted to sort of acknowledge that we're kind of in the midst of a 4-year grant project to get this off the ground, and we're eager to get residents involved. We're eager to have in some of our first neighborhoods, we've gotten some great resident participation. And that's one of the things that we're hoping to find some interested people who'd like to be a part of making this happen in Sherman Park as well. So I think with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you guys for the details.
Yeah, sure. So the core components of WaterMarks, similar to what you saw in that first video, it's okay if you didn't memorize them all, but we start with community engagement, and that kind of leads us into the storytelling component of WaterMarks. We work with Reflow, the nonprofit, to meet with residents and kind of record their stories, and then those are posted onto our YouTube channel, kind of their stories in relation to water. Next is the walks, which Ryan kind of talked about how this project is really focused on learning from each other, and the walks, and not only the walks, but the workshops are really a great place to learn from each other about how water impacts our lives. Specifically within the area of Milwaukee that we live. The workshops, in addition, are a chance for us to like really explore our water stories. So at the workshop, we'll be prompted with the question. There'll be like various facilitators to asking other questions, but it's really focused on like, what is your water story? And then from there, we'll kind of map out like similar like key words or like key letters maybe that come out of that story, and then hopefully we'll be left with a letter, and that will be the letter that's on top of the water marker. In this photo right here, it's at the green tech station, so the G right there means gritty, it means the Garden Homes neighborhood, it means green tech station, it means growth. Next is the artist project. This project is really artist driven. So a really big part of the neighborhood project team, which I'll get to at the bottom, is making a decision about the who as to what artist is going to end up installing a public art installation that is fully commissioned by WaterMarks. And then the thing that a lot of people really focus on, and the thing that is probably the thing that you're going to see the most, is the big water marker. In this photo, you can see that the water marker is basically as tall as a power line. So if that's maybe a good way to think about it in terms of scale. But also in that video before, you saw that the water marker also has public Wi-Fi access, and then it also has a QR code on it that you can scan that will bring you to the WaterMarks website. And from there, you can look at the stories of the community members that went into that water marker. Another thing too is that it will light up. So it'll be a beacon at night. And then specifically in this last slide, we have this water drop alert thing right here, which is a text messaging system that the Metropolitan Milwaukee Sewage District runs, which will let you know when we're getting a heavy rainstorm, so that hopefully all together we can limit our water use so we experience less flooding within our streets. So this water marker is kind of a physical water drop alert. So that's what will pulse whenever we experience a heavy rainstorm. So it's kind of coordinated with those water drop alerts. So what is the neighborhood project team, and what does it have to do with these core components? So like I was saying before, they make decisions about the walks. So like the who's leading the walks, where are the walks, when are the walks? For the workshops, it's who's facilitating it, where is it, when is it? Realize I put where twice. For the artist projects, it's who and it's where. For the water marker, where are we going to put the water marker? How can we be as intentional about where that's placed so that the most people as possible can see that? So yeah, we're looking for a group of residents that's representative of all parts of Sherman Park. So these components can feel as reflective as possible. So we'd like you to join our neighborhood project team. Then I will hand it over to Ellie to kind of take us through some different neighborhoods. And then just to start this off, this is a poster that Sydney Hoffman created that has kind of a culmination of all of our water markers in Milwaukee and just different key parts of those water marker sites.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ellie Jackson. I'm the project manager with WaterMarks. I'm also a musician, so getting to talk about art and the Venn diagram between the WaterMarks work, combination of science, art, and community endeavor is really personal to me. I think art is the thing that moves people, along with community building and getting to know each other. You know, songs and paintings and stories are the things that really shape us and shape our culture. And so I'm excited to get to talk about this part. So each marker will have one or two artists working on doing an art project around it. This first marker, the A, it's at Acosta Middle School. It was the first marker in Milwaukee. And you'll notice it's red instead of blue, which was a shift. So all the other markers you'll see around town are blue. But this art project was run by Melanie Ahrens, and she worked with the middle schoolers at Acosta Middle School to design murals. And so right outside of the middle school, there's the overpass right on 6th. And you'll see the murals that she designed with middle schoolers. This next project is Lindsay Heights. They haven't finished, so that's Yaz is one of the artists and Amar is one of the artists, and they're still in the process of designing what their art project is. I think it's important to say that the art project, and the reason that it's so important to work with artists, is that it doesn't have to be, you know, one type of art project or another. We can lean on artists and use that lens, that creative lens, to you know, to really think outside of the box about how what an art project can look like. And so one of the ideas that has come from Lindsay Heights, from Yaz and Amar, is the idea of activating the marker space through building something like a park around the marker that is recreational, that is beautiful, that has benches and maybe chess sets and maybe even like some light workout equipment, just to keep it recreational and fun and a place to create. And that might be what their project looks like. This is the newest installation. This is an H at the Harbor District. Sarah Gail Luther, over the last several years, has been working with the community group there, as well as a school, to design this art project. So there are signs from 10th and Greenfield, basically every block leading you to the harbor. And the community input that she received is that these signs should be in Spanish. And so she, you know, reflected that community need. And there's just 10 beautiful signs leading up to the Harbor District. This is a beer line trail. I think we have two artists. We have David Najib Kassir. On the right, you'll see his mural. I think that's from today. Is that picture from today?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that's fresh. So he is working on his mural. And that is on the Connector Building, which is a Riverworks project on the Beer Line Trail at Keefe and Richards. He's designing the mural and painting the mural. The other artist that we had working, that we have working with us on the Beer Line Trail is KJ, who is a poet and has done workshops in, I think we had one event at least with KJ at Snails Crossing. So poetry is another means of art and community building and activation of the space. Melvina Park in the Century City neighborhood, the artist there is Macall Floyd Pruitt. Macall, so they chose the letter C for community, Century City. Macall is designing large, I'm not even sure what to call them exactly. They're not quite murals, but they are like a visual representation of environmental green superheroes who are like sort of representation of who you might see in the neighborhood, but like the Black Panther version of them. And so one is this goddess who can control the water, and the other is the future of the neighborhood who is like more into like the water tech, and so his like superpower is this like little almost R2D2 robot. And they're visual representations, and they also have stories along with them. So they're interactive. So there'll be a way to like either through your phone or maybe through our website. I'm not totally sure. We'll have to pick Macall's brain about that. You'll be able to like interact with the art when you're nearby. And then Green Tech Station, we all took a field trip there not that long ago. And so there were two artists. I think the first artist was Portia Cobb, and the second is Glenn Williams, and he designed these sculptures. He works at UWM and works in sculpture, and so these are a representation of African water vessels, and they just had a Green Tech Station grand opening last week where we got to see them and celebrate all of these other like creative and green infrastructure components of Green Tech Station. So it was really cool to see them interacting like, yeah, together and being really celebrated. It was a good turnout. And then the KK neighborhood, the Kinnickinnic River neighborhood, the artists were Gabby Riveros, Molly Oblinger, and soon to be Yezi Perez. Gabby's work is there's sort of like this trail that leads behind the marker, the Enye, and you can, if you walk along the trail, you'll see Gabby's this just beautiful mural work, and then a story about what each piece means. And then Molly's are these like really creative birdhouses that are along the way. So as you're walking, it's really peaceful. It's a really nice walk. It's kind of a quiet part along the river, but you're also still in the KK neighborhood very much. So it's really cool to just like walk down there and have all this art by the Enye marker. And Yesi Perez is about to take on being a artist for this next neighborhood project team forming in the KK neighborhood. So we'll see what she decides to do.
Yeah, cool. Thanks for that,
Yeah.
Ellie. So we're back to this slide, just because I just wanted to put back into your minds about how with all of these different artist installations, that just to like re-say that the neighborhood project team determines who each artist is, and like we just went through, each artist installation does not have to look the same. It doesn't have to be a mural. It can really be anything, and it can be anywhere that we can approve or be approved to put it, I should say. So what does it mean to be a neighborhood project team member? So neighborhood project team members are responsible for a total of 8 to 10 neighborhood project team meetings within a 6 to 12 month time frame. And the members will be asked for feedback on selecting artists to complete this art installation, as well as selecting walk leaders. So that artist will also be a walk leader, and they will lead the neighborhood, and anyone is welcome to go on these walks as well as be at the workshops. However, the neighborhood project team just has a bit more say in who's leading these walks. The artist will be able to collaborate with an environmentalist or a scientist or an expert of some sort in some field that complements kind of the type of walk that they want to take. So for example, we're working with the Kinnickinnick River neighborhood right now. That's why we had that question mark, because we don't know what that next WaterMarker will be. And for what Yessie wants to do, our newest artist, she wants to focus on how the river and the naturalization of the Kinnickinnick River affects mental health and kind of like steps that we can take um, as everyday civilians to increase our mental health. So the neighborhood project team will explore walk themes and then plan these programs with our walk leaders. And the meetings will be more frequent in the beginning as we'll be planning the walks and the workshops. But they're also determined by the availability, and they're determined at the pace that the neighborhood project team members determine. So yeah, that's also important to keep in mind. The neighborhood project team members will be community representatives of the WaterMarks initiatives and will be asked to promote WaterMarks programming and communications with their fellow neighbors. And then another component is that they do receive a modest stipend that will be determined by the neighborhood project team. So this is a quick timeline for the team. So at first, our first meeting will be kind of an introduction, and we'll create a list of walk leaders, including a list of artists that were interested in leading walks, but then also eventually putting up a public art installation within the neighborhood. Stage 2 is once we've confirmed that artist and thought about experts, we're going to introduce the walk leaders to the neighborhood project team. So step 3 is working together to explore the themes that we're interested in. Step 4 is the walk planning. Then we have the month of walks. So we end up hosting 2 walks within that neighborhood, and Sherman Park is such a massive neighborhood. So those walks could be in 2 of those communities within Sherman Park. Stage 6 would be that workshop. So that's when we determine what the letter is that would be on top of the WaterMarker. Then 7 is when our artist, who was our walk leader, proposes what they're interested in creating an art installation of. And then 8 and 9 is that installation and the WaterMarker installation, which are definitely things that will come very much after the artist proposal and the workshop and everything else. So I put them in stages instead of like saying month 1, month 2, because each thing is going to take its own amount of time. And in the beginning, it could be a few weeks in between the things. But by the end, it's going to be a few months between those stages. And then I also have a video that will let us know a little bit more about these walks and the informal learning behind them.
A number of years ago, I was asked to come to Milwaukee to do a project that would tell the water story of Milwaukee.
One of the focuses of WaterMarks is to bring artists and experts together to help share issues about the environment with local residents and communities. And one of the most meaningful ways we found to do that is to lead walks with artists and experts in communities around the city.
We absolutely are convinced that artists have special ways of looking at the world, but that needs to be overlaid with the intimate knowledge of the location that the community members have, as well as the scientific information about the complex issues of climate change, about water in particular, and public health.
When we do community organizing at a grassroots level, it brings the community together to learn about our environment and water. And when we learn together, we grow together.
right. And then I just have one last slide, and we'll get into questions that anyone has. So if you're interested in learning more about WaterMarks, you feel free to go to our website or scan the QR code right there. It's just watermarksmke.org. And then if you're interested in being on the neighborhood project team, feel free to fill out this form right here by scanning this. Otherwise, I'm also going to put this link in the chat. Other than that, feel free to ask us any questions.
Thanks, Haley.
I have a
And
couple
Ellie.
questions, guys. When we heard the first slides that came up, it was like a variant in the shapes of the water markers. Did it change down the line? I know the color changed down the line, and the part two of that question was why did the color change from red to blue? And what's the difference in the asymmetrical shape of the water marker? Then the other one was like straight. Did I see that right, or can you explain that?
You want me to take that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the initial idea, there's the one red letter is the A, and then from here on out they're blue. And part of the idea was that red might carry a little more of an emergency kind of signal. Blue has a little more association with water and might evoke that's I need to be thinking about water. So I think that the initial idea with after some feedback and input shifted towards the blue. With the asymmetrical one, I think, are you talking about the one at Green Tech Station?
I don't think it was Green Tech Station. It was actually at the beginning of the slide. I don't know what marker it was. Yeah. But it was lit too. It actually was in the lit. It was lit.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there are other, let's see if we've got, because the only one right now, I mean, the Enya is asymmetrical, but only from one direction. The G is the one that's asymmetrical. And so that was, yeah, so that's sort of the one that, so we're looking at it from the back. And the decision was made by those who put it up to have it, or the neighborhood project team in this case, to have it facing, so that if you're coming around 31st Street from the north, you're able to see the G. There were any number of ways you could do it, but that's what they chose. So from that angle, it does look a little abstract, I suppose. But that's it's going to vary. So it'll be an issue with some of the upcoming ones. So C, which way you're going to want to orient the C, and which way you want to orient the L and Lindsay Heights. So but I don't know if that answers your question, but that's yeah.
Yeah. Now, actually, was driving past the beer line yesterday, and I saw the artist out there. What was his name? David. Saw him doing the yard out there yesterday. So yeah, that's okay. That's all I got.
Yes, Dolmini or Ryan, are there any other things that you would add to what we shared? Or do we do a great job explaining water?
So thorough. I'm not sure if I'm trying to think if there's any, if I were asking about this, what questions I might have, but maybe others have. Steve, do you have a question?
I'm wondering, in our situation, Ryan, would there be the possibility, as we start moving along, for one of our advisory committee members to be on your committee, off of our committee? And then
Absolutely.
that person goes back and forth. Do you think that would work so that we would then begin to be hooked to you guys?
Absolutely.
Okay. I'll bring it up and see if there's anybody, unless there's somebody else that we can groom in the neighborhood that would join and then come and report to us. That person will be on your team. maybe we should go in that direction too. One never knows, you know, as we're talking about all this, there might be somebody that says, well, I'd rather go with the WaterMarks and then come back to you guys and report back to us. That way we'd have a hook to you guys all the time.
If there's someone who might fit the bill, who'd be interested in being a part of both, I don't see any reason why not. I think it would be great to have that connection.
It'd be a lot of work.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
And Steve too, if you could just have them fill out that form that I put in the chat, like whenever you do find out who that is, then I'll contact that person and
Good.
have them be a part of our first official neighborhood project team meeting. So
yeah, and yeah, we'd have to get moving on it too, though, wouldn't we?
yeah, maybe.
I'll work on it.
Thanks.
Felice or Mabel, are there any questions now that I know, Mabel, you've seen the presentation a couple of times now, but anything new this time around?
No, I like the videos. Those are nice and fresh. I mean, I think it tells the story, and gives people a better visual and perspective of what to expect from WaterMarks. So, I'm looking forward to sharing out this video to our community and building out that neighborhood project team.
Thank
Great.
you.
Thanks.
One other thought I had too, have we got the website in the chat at all, the WaterMarks website? Which I know we're going to be doing, I know that's going to be get some revamping done, but one of the things that would be, I mean, there are a few things on the website that I think would be of interest. One, we saw it in the video, some of the a little bit of the map that's showing where these markers are going in. So to kind of see how this is taking shape across the city. But another thing that I think is really a great feature on the site is the stories. And you know, many of you have met Michael Tim, who's been interviewing people, gathering the stories, and I think if to share some of those stories, that's another really important part of this project. You know, I think over time, you know, the focus here has been on visual arts, but I think over time we're really envisioning these to be gathering places for all kinds of artistic engagements, from music, theater, dance, and whatever else it might be. That and if you know, for example, you know, I think there was a mention of the sort of the event in Snails Crossing. I think Ellie, you mentioned that, where KJ did and a few other people did spoken word poetry. In fact, that was the last time I got to see James perform. It was a really beautiful event, and you know, a different way of celebrating water and celebrating Milwaukee and celebrating its communities. So those are the kinds of things that we envision over time that these can be spaces for. So this is sort of what we see as the neighborhood project team is really sort of that first. This is sort of initiation, the kind of thing that gets the ball rolling, gets the marker on the air, you know, and then over time, the vision is then to be able to activate that in all kinds of different ways. You know, both at the neighborhood scale, but also at the city scale. So one of the things, for example, that Michael has been working on as well. I mean, Michael's doing all kinds of stuff, but another thing that he's been working on is a kind of passport where you can go and visit the different water markers and, you know, learn about the different neighborhoods. So it's meant to be for neighborhoods, but it's also meant to be a way that we can learn about other neighborhoods and learn about how we're connected with each other. So, you know, it's a, you know, I guess I see it as a really exciting moment to be part of something that's just starting. And we're hoping that over time, you know, we're really working hard to make it happen so that over time this becomes a citywide phenomenon that is very visible. You saw that in the video, stack, then so that's the marker isn't there on the stack yet. That's one of the things that the video doesn't quite explain. That's the plan is over time that there will be on the Jones Island stack, right, and visible from the harbor and all of that, the sort of central beacon that people will be able to see and kind of holds it all together. And then if people can see that one, then they know, this is connected with the water markers in other neighborhoods, et cetera. But we're not quite there yet. I know that we all want to see that happen, but that may be down the road a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I think just to reiterate, I mean, that we're our part of the vision here too is that this becomes something that every marker that neighborhoods feel, hey, this is something we've created. This is and that it can be as representative as possible. So we'd love to see people from all across the neighborhood, people who are already active, but people who are maybe you haven't been active before. You're looking for a new way to get involved with things going on in the neighborhood and things going on in the city as a whole. We're just, we'd love to have new people on board as well as people who are seasoned and who've been doing things in the neighborhood for a while. So everyone is invited.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan.
Yeah, if I could add to that, since this video, since this is recorded, I would urge Sherman Park residents to, if you are interested, please step forward before I call you and invite you personally to become part of this neighborhood project team. We do want representation from each of the neighborhoods in Sherman Park so that we can have an inclusive and broad perspective from all of our neighborhoods so that we can have the best placement for the water marker and also that we have the community engaged around this process. So we will be posting this video live in the next day or so that we can inform residents who live in Sherman Park to join and participate in this. And we'll also attach a form, a Google form, so that people can sign up. I think too, and thank you for that question, Felice. The question in the chat was, what is the commitment of time? So maybe Haley, Ellie, Ryan, Demani, if you all want to talk about that, if you have a timeline you can share in this video as well, I think that would be very helpful so that people know how to plan.
I'll chime in here to say, I think like Haley suggested, some of the faster moving parts will happen at the earlier part of the neighborhood project team process, and then it'll slow down to sustain. So to program, one of the first things that the project team will do is choose walk leaders, including artists. And then once that connection's been made, I think you can plan on something like 6 to 8 weeks for a walk to come together. It's possible it could take a little longer. And the pace of that is, I think, best determined by the group. It doesn't make sense to rush something if people don't have the capacity. But, once things start rolling, it would be nice for it to move faster at the beginning than towards the end.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I kind of went over and we learned about in the video, a big component of this are the walks. And since we're kind of going into our colder season, like if that's we might not end up having our walks until it gets a little warmer again, or maybe we might have some winter walks. I think all of that is determined by the neighborhood project team. So that pace that we're going to take to get to those walks is totally determined by the neighborhood project team. Then for the timeline, once we reach out to more people and once we get this video circulated, we'll then reach out to the neighborhood project team members, or the people that filled out that form, and then we'll reach out to those people and see when we can have our first meeting. So maybe we'll send out like a doodle poll to gauge people's schedules. No, we don't need a certain number of neighbors for a walk. We just like to have as many as possible so they can all learn from one another.
Yeah, they've varied in size. You know, the first one I went on in Garden Homes, well, it coincided with the Jane's Walk across town, so it was a pretty large one. So there were, I would say, somewhere 50 to 60 people on that one. But then there have been others that have been much smaller, you know, maybe 5 to 10. But and then the Lindsay Heights one was somewhere in between. I'm pretty sure we had probably, I don't know if you remember Delmini, we probably were in the sort of 20s or somewhere around then. So they vary a lot. But it's you know, it's wonderful to have people out. A couple of things too. A timeline for the NPT. I don't think we have an official timeline at this point, but the one limitation we're working with is basically we're in the middle of the 4-year grant project. Now this is not going to be the end of WaterMarks. The goal is then, you know, to apply for more grants once we've gotten this on the ground. But this is in terms of, you know, this is going to be one of the grant funded projects here. So we basically got, you know, I mean, ideally we'd like to get this going in the next few months here. Does the NPT have final decision making authority, or is that WaterMarks? With respect to, I'd have to know what the specific things would be. I mean, in general, with the ideas in terms of things like the letter, that's the NPT. The neighborhood determines what the letter is, and you know, and how you want to do it, who the artists are. But if there's any kind of specific things that you know, that any kind of specific kinds of decisions, let me know, because I mean, there are certain kinds of things that yeah, I guess I'd have to know more about what those specific would be. But we do have a project narrative, yeah, that we can share. But yeah, so let me know if that's something you'd want to look at. So you can, if you want to find out more about what all was involved with the grant proposal, yeah.
That'd be great, Ryan. Could you drop the link in the?
I don't have a link to it. I'd have to send it to you. It's not something that's just on the web.
Sure.
Yeah. And I might need a reminder. I've got I'm going to have to run in a couple of minutes, and I've got a to-do list that's about 1,000 items long. So I may need a reminder, but yeah, we can share that.
I can send it, Ryan. That's totally
Thanks.
fine.
That would be great. That would be great.
And Felice, I think I have your email, so I can send it to you soon.
And I was trying to see if there was another. Felice, did you want to say more about the decision-making authority question? Because I just wanted to, I know I was kind of rambling around. If there were any particular things you were curious about, or?
No, not, I mean, you kind of answer them, the letter, the location, you know, as far as just, you know, when you get a lot of people on teams, there's not always agreement immediately and or right away, but some things there may be a hard no on, and other things may be able to be negotiated. So I was just curious, you know, what residents, being this is a community-led project, what residents really will have a say in, and what things residents won't have a say in.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I mean, certain things like for instance, with the location, I'm just thinking about how this has worked in the past. I mean, the residents choose, but there might be limitations with respect to, you know, who owns what property, you know, that kind of thing. So that we can't say, oh, you can put it anywhere, because, well, the city might have, you know, there might be restrictions on that. But it's not us. It's, you know, the WaterMarks staff, it doesn't make that decision. That's left up to the residents. Same thing with the letter. We don't participate. That's all left to residents to decide. This is, you know, so, and for example, at Lindsay Heights or Melvina Park, you know, the workshops that kind of began the process of determining what the letter would be, but the leaders, the community leaders that said, you know, it would be great to let's take some nominations, but let's take it to our neighborhood association first, and then so we can have a wider, you know, group of people to determine that. And that's great. That's perfect. And that's the way that happened from Alvina Park and Lindsay Heights. And I think really all of them, there have been. So, but the vision here is definitely for the major decisions about what happens to be in the hands of the neighborhood project team, the residents. And yeah, we don't make those kinds of decisions. Are youth able to be on the team? We would love to have youth as part of the team. This would be fantastic. So yeah, so if you have youth who'd be interested in joining, in fact, that's one of the things that's in the grant, you know, that we're trying to figure out ways to get youth involved. And so, you know, very open to ideas for that kind of thing. That would be great.
Any other questions, thoughts, comments?
Thank you so much. I'm going to have to run. I'm going to go eat, and then I get to go sing for a while. So that's going to be my treat for the night. So.
Thank you all for the time, and I think recording this was a great idea, and hopefully we can share it out to other people who aren't able to make it tonight.
Oh, absolutely.
So I'm going to take off, but thanks and I'll see folks tomorrow night too.
Okay, thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.
And with that said, I am going to stop this recording. So thank you all for your presentation.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.